Today we are going to be talking about just basically video games. We don't really have a structure today. We will get off topic, but the whole soul is we're basically just going to go around and ask questions about it. So we're just going to jump right into it. It doesn't really need much introduction.
Speaking of off topic, Mark has a very sultry voice. I'm going to put that on the table.
I had to get my radio voice.
Your radio voice. Okay.
I didn't say moist.
What do you guys like to talk about first?
I think, it's January, so it's a great time to start with what was our favorite game of last year. I mean, just get it right out there.
That's a good question. All right. Mark,
I'll go first.
you want to start?
Because I know this game had a lot of controversy behind it, but Mass Effect 3.
That was a great game.
It came out really early, so it kind of got overshadowed by things like Borderlands 2 that came out more recently. Mm-hmm. But it was a great game. Screw what everyone says about the ending. It was great. If you've been playing from the first game especially, everything does tie in and everything does come to a very good conclusion. And most of the controversy about it was people complaining that they had to make sacrifices. There was no way to, save every single race. There was no way to save every crew member.
Oh, yeah.
There was only one way to save Shepard in the end. Mm-hmm. And by doing so, you doom one of the races. So
wow.
There's, going to be sacrifices, and that's kind of the theme that's going on through all three games is sacrifices must be made, and the people who are bitching about it are just whiner babies. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Yeah, because, even if you didn't do every single thing in 2, you lose crew members. Mm-hmm. Death was a constant theme in that game.
Yes.
You constantly lost people. It sucked, but I liked it. I didn't finish 3 because my Xbox crapped out, but I thought it was a really good game, personally.
Now about the controversy, just to go into it a little bit more, there was a huge public outcry about the ending, and BioWare did change it. Now, I am upset that they kind of were like, yeah, whatever, we'll change our vision of this to accommodate whiny people, because it really was a very outspoken minority that had a problem with it. Also, I will say more people have complained about the ending of Mass Effect 3 than have actually played Mass Effect 3, which is kind of funny to me, because I know several people who have bitched about the ending that didn't buy the game, didn't play the game, never even finished 2, so what are they bitching about? They just wanted to jump on the bandwagon, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But at least whenever they came out and they changed the ending, basically what they did was elaborate a little bit more on the endings that were already there. They didn't make it to where you could get one with no sacrifices. They did add in what I thought was the great big middle finger to all the people who were bitching, which was like, fine, you wanted a different ending, here's one. Choose not to do any of the 3 options that we give you, and the universe dies. That's what you want. Because that's what would happen is you don't want to do the only 3 options you have, then don't. Universe is dead.
Jesus.
You're welcome.
That's awesome.
And I loved that because it was finally like, this is what you've been asking for.
Yeah.
But that's my pick is Mass Effect 3, my favorite game of 2012.
That's a good pick. I guess that this was a pretty good year in gaming. Not the best necessarily, but a good year. So my favorite would probably have to be Borderlands 2. It really was a good game. I remember the day it came out, getting to GameStop at 10 o'clock in the morning. You got there like 2 hours later. We sat there, and you weren't even
getting
it.
Yeah, I just wanted to be there.
Yeah, we sat there all day. The experience was a blast. Got the Loot Chest edition. Everything about it was a lot of fun. I thought that the new NPCs were really good. Mm-hmm. You've got really funny ones like Tiny Tina.
Yes.
You've got Hammerlock, who's just also funny and really cool.
Very underused.
Hammerlock? Yeah, I think he's the next add-on.
I think that add-on's out now. But
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The wood?
Just came out.
No, it's like Hammerlock's Big Game Hunt or something like that.
Okay. I really enjoyed Claptrap. Claptrap was... I will never let anyone else call me a minion other than just Claptrap.
Yeah.
He's a badass. I really enjoyed the weapons and everything. They pretty much
it's
just brought
what you
over straight
expected
from 1.
from
Yeah, they didn't let me
Borderlands,
down in any way.
Right.
even the way that they brought in the old player characters, I thought that they did really well with the story, tying them in.
Yeah.
They didn't just leave that storyline and let it sit. I mean, it was a true sequel.
Yeah.
It really kind of picks up where the first one left off.
And I will say, spoilers here, but some of the deaths in this game were heartbreaking,
Oh my God.
considering
Yeah.
the fact that this is a comedy game at heart.
Yeah.
I shed tears. I mean,
Yeah, one in particular just killed
Yeah.
me. Oh, it was so hard. I won't say anything, man.
that's as far as spoilers as I'm going to go, but there are deaths in this game that will make you cry just like the first
there are
game.
even some little weird ones. It's like, okay, I remember them, but it sucks that they died.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really fun game, though.
I haven't beaten the game, so.
Yeah. Just the whole narrative of the game. I loved Jack, Handsome Jack.
Yes.
He was hilarious. He was one of my favorite.
Probably-
I hated him. I
Probably
loved
the
hating
best
him.
villain of 2012,
Oh
I
yeah,
would say.
yeah. He was something. What about you, Matt? What was your favorite game of 2012?
My favorite game of 2012. Well, it's complicated due to the game that I really loved from 2012. I got in 2013, so I wouldn't be able to really change much of that. My favorite was an underrated game no one really played much of until they realized that the reviews weren't correct. I loved Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City.
Really? Okay.
I am a diehard Resident Evil fan that went back to my favorite generation of games, included my favorite two characters from Resident Evil, which is Leon and Claire. And it really brought the Resident Evil games back to its original roots, included Hunk, and the game itself took place during Resident Evil 2.
Oh, okay. Which I think was already the best
2
game.
and 3,
Yeah.
yes.
I don't know if 4 holds a very
does
special place in my
Okay.
heart, mainly because the controls are so much better than they had ever been.
Yeah.
And
Instead of
it's
the,
so much more accessible.
You've got a plane that you're shooting on. You can aim down at like a 45-degree
And
angle.
it doesn't take me a half hour to turn around when there's a zombie behind me. Just the addition of a quick 180 is blew me away in that game.
But why was that your favorite game, though?
The idea that you had to share in order to really survive. Ammo was kind of scarce.
Okay.
And when you didn't have weapons, they used up a lot of your ammo. And zombies were not easy to headshot.
We also have to take into account that you're a giant Resident Evil fan.
Yeah.
So that might be a part of
That
it.
might be a part
Kind
of
of
it.
like my favorite game of 2012 is Mass Effect, but I was a huge Mass Effect fan from day one of Mass
Yeah.
Effect being released. I'm biased.
Yeah, I'm a little biased. I've
Fan
owned.
already, but they didn't screw it up.
Right, exactly.
I just like psychic women with elemental powers. I'm actually biased for that.
So,
To go
just like
into-
Parasite Eve. Huh?
to go into, because your selection kind of segues into one of the questions I was planning to ask later, but it fits so well here. What are your thoughts, both of you guys, on sequels that, one, they're not true sequels, like Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City was not Resident Evil 6. It was just a side story
Yeah.
with that's why it's not numbered, it just has a weird name. And what do you think about sequels that don't even feel like the same game? Like, Resident Evil is a survival horror game, and Raccoon City is closer to a squad-based shooter.
It is a squad-based
Yeah.
shooter.
I mean, there's still survival horror aspects. There's monsters. It's dark, but it's a shooter at heart. It's a third-person squad-based shooter.
At its core, it is a Resident Evil SOCOM game,
Yeah,
and I love SOCOM. That's one of the reasons I love the game.
yeah. But does that bother you at all to get a game from a franchise that doesn't feel like it's actually from that franchise, aside from setting?
It doesn't bother me as much as it probably should.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go on.
I've played Resident Evil Gun Survivor, Resident Evil Survivor, Resident Evil Survival 2, Resident Evil Survivor 3, Code Veronica, which is very...
I actually
one that-
loved Code Veronica.
Yeah,
I'll admit
Code
it.
Veronica was a fantastic game. I did deviate a little bit, but
Yeah.
it was still a great game. And I've also played Resident Evil Gaiden with Leon and Barry on the cruise ship that was turn-based, which is a huge change from the original. Well, that's not canon. Neither is Operation Raccoon City. That is not canon either.
Right.
Canon games are normally my favorites, but it doesn't bother me as much as it probably should. Just like I'm a diehard Resident Evil fan, but I take the movies as an alternate
Ugh.
timeline.
That could be a whole nother podcast. I could do an entire hour-long podcast just bashing the Resident Evil
I
movies. Hate them.
Yeah, based on the actual storyline, they don't match up and they're not canon.
On their own, they're shit.
I'm neutral in that.
Yeah.
Just in the same breath, if George Romero would have gotten a hold of it, it would have been a lot worse.
Well, yeah, I will. We'll get, like I said, we're gonna get off topic here, and I'm gonna go into the realm of movies for a second. But Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, great.
Mm-hmm.
Land of the Dead, fuck off. I know George Romero is the king of the zombies, and he came back and made his own sequel, but his sequel fucking blew.
Yeah, I don't argue that.
He ruined what zombies are, which is they're not supposed to learn things. They're not supposed to be able to use weapons effectively. They might accidentally have a gun in their hand and squeeze the trigger in a random direction.
Yeah.
They're not going to learn. They don't think. They can't run. You know, and whenever I say Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, and Dawn of the Dead, I mean the original 70s Dawn of the Dead, not the remake where they could run.
Yeah.
But that's off topic. So, anyway, Donnie.
Back to the sequels that we were having.
What's your thoughts on sequels that
well,
don't feel anything like the original?
For example, Diablo 3 was nothing like Diablo 2 in my opinion. I did like a lot of it though, where they bring in like Cain and stuff like that. That's cool. I like that, but it just wasn't the same gameplay for me. I like the old trees where you really invest a lot into your characters.
Yes.
Not I've got to fight this boss. I'm going to switch everything about my character
Yeah.
in 1 second and.
Yeah, I didn't get to play a lot of Diablo 3. I played the beta, really, is all I really got to play. Mainly because I had gigantic issues with my Blizzard account getting hacked, and still to this day have not gotten it rectified. And now they, whenever they answer my phone calls, which takes several calls, as soon as they find out it's me, they hang up on me. So I think I pissed somebody at Blizzard off.
Yeah, probably.
But I did get to play the beta a little bit, and yeah, like you said, it didn't feel like Diablo. It was fun, but
Yeah,
it
it's
wasn't.
fun,
I
man.
wanted Diablo,
Yeah, me too.
and the graphics, especially like the cutscenes, are beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Give it that.
Some of the best.
Yeah, but the actual gameplay, it feels like they mapped WoW character designs onto my Diablo characters.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that at all.
I also didn't like that it was online only.
Yes.
Because I remember launch day, a lot of people were having issues. I was one of them because the servers weren't ready for everybody trying to get in, and they'd crash, and there'd be 4 hours of maintenance. There was supposed to be an hour, but even that aside, 'cause I mean, launch day, shit happens. Not a big deal. But I'm an alpha gamer. I like to play by myself, do everything on my own.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And while you still can do that, Diablo 3.
You have
be
to
online.
jump through some hoops to get to where people aren't just randomly jumping into your game.
And to get to the hardest difficulties, you need people. You can't, especially the boss fights.
Right.
I played by myself, and then for a boss fight, I'd hop in with a bunch of other people, beat that boss, and hop back out. I had no choice. I mean, even the cohorts, I don't remember exactly what they're called, were way underpowered.
Yeah.
They were so weak. They were worthless.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's a fun game. It just wasn't what I wanted.
Right.
Out of a Diablo
I ended up
game.
not buying it mainly because of the online only thing.
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't buy it, because soon after it released, my Blizzard account got hacked.
Okay.
But so I would have just wasted the money on it anyway. But yeah, I ended up not even being interested after playing the beta because it just wasn't the game I wanted.
Yep.
My issues with the sequels that don't feel like sequels stem from games like Dragon Age. Dragon Age Origins was a RPG, turn-based but simulated real-time, much like KOTOR or even Jade Empire to an extent. Dragon Age 2 was a button mash hack and slash. That's all there is to it. There was so many options in Dragon Age Origins of you got to choose what race you wanted to be. There were several different classes, and then several different prestige classes after that. You could fully outfit all of your team members by like every section of armor, like helmet, chest, gloves, boots.
Wow, yeah.
Dragon Age 2, you can outfit yourself like that. You get like a piece of armor that is the entire set of armor for your companion characters. You can only be human. You get to choose between rogue, warrior, or mage, and then there's like 2 branching things once you go up, but not nearly as much variety as there was in the first game. And then the maps. You go into a dungeon, and it's the same dungeon you've been in, but one path will be closed off and a different one open, but it's literally the same map. It's like they just didn't even try.
Yeah.
And then they still charge you full price for a game that they didn't work nearly as hard on. And I'll admit, the storyline was decent. It just wasn't what I wanted in a Dragon Age game.
Yeah.
But then on to the other point of this is, what about games like Operation Raccoon City, where it's not a direct sequel, so they can kind of get away with it, but it's still a sequel. Like, should they branch out into so many side things, or is it just kind of a ploy to get money? One big thing like Final Fantasy, especially around 7, notorious for this, is everybody wants a direct Final Fantasy sequel. So they give you a direct Final Fantasy sequel movie, then they give you the PSP crappy action game, they give you Dirge of Cerberus, which is a third-person shooter. It's all the things that nobody wants because they know, well, they want this sequel so bad that they'll buy anything we put out with Final Fantasy VII's name on it. Is this... I mean, I guess it bothers me more whenever they do it like that, and it just... They put out games that aren't even fun, but if they put out a game that's fun and it is a branch off, not a direct sequel, I kind of let them slide a little bit more. But...
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because Advent Children, I loved it.
Yes, I loved it.
It was, great. Great. Dirge of Cerberus, no thanks.
No thanks.
I'm alright.
The PSP one, I really tried. I really tried to get into it. I played probably half that game before I was like, why am I still playing this? I'm not even playing the battle scenes. I just wait for slots to hit, and then my summon takes everything out. I just run in a circle. I don't even have to attack.
Yeah, that was a game you could just sit down and kind of beat itself.
Yeah, but anybody else, you, Matt, anything to say on it? Because I know your Resident Evil is one of the most notorious for having sequels that aren't sequels.
Well, like I mentioned Gaiden earlier, that has been swept under the table. Like, no one knows about it because it's such an abortion series.
Coat hanger abortion or went to the doctor's office abortion?
Probably fist.
Oh,
just reach in and just pull it right out.
Gotcha.
Wow. That's pretty bad.
But
I'd prefer a coat hanger to that. So. And I don't even get abortions.
I thought you said you did.
Only that one.
It wasn't fun. It just wasn't. Resident Evil 6... It was great. It felt like a true sequel to Resident Evil 5, even though 5 left off on a bit of an odd ending. For the most part, games that have sequels that aren't really sequels, their franchises don't really suffer, I've noticed. They pick up a different niche, a different crowd that likes a different thing. For this example, Resident Evil Raccoon City was a squad-based shooter and an action game, whereas other Resident Evil games were either survival horror games, or I guess in the new ones they could be called action. But I, for one, wouldn't want to return to the original controls just because.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Resident Evil Revelations is actually a very good melding of this new combat to old school tank controls.
Oh, okay.
You have a player, you walk forward, back, and left, and you can also strafe with the L and R buttons. But for the most part, it's very tankish, but once you actually look down the sights, you have a full aiming position.
Okay. So just because I'm kind of fuzzy on what you mean here exactly, is it kind of like whenever Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, where it's like it's the Metal Gear. It feels like Metal Gear whenever you're in third person running around, but we added in this aiming mechanic so that it's not such clunky firing at people and missing and using
that's
all your
almost
ammo.
Exactly what it is.
Okay, good. See, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic game. I recently got it, and
because tanky to me, what you were saying, for some reason in my mind registered as like a rail shooter.
Oh no. Clunky tank controls is something that Resident Evil is notorious for.
Alright, something else I'd really like to bring up while we're talking about sequels. there are some games I would honestly love to see a sequel to. For example, Knights of the Old Republic 3 would be a great game.
Yes.
Are there any you guys would really like to see?
I'll touch on one Knights of the Old Republic 3 I would love to see. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I kind of hate that they're considering Knights of the Old Republic MMO to be Knights of the Old Republic 3, which it's not.
Yeah.
To me, that's like saying that Final Fantasy, which one was online, 12 or 11? 11 and 14
Yeah.
are Final Fantasy sequels. They're not. They're completely different.
Yeah.
But to answer the question, what I would love to see, which they were talking about doing and then canceled it, was Mega Man Legends 3. I was so excited and disappointed because I found out they were planning it the same day that I found out that they had canceled it. It was heartbreaking
Jeez.
because I loved that game. Both of them were amazing, and they haven't made another good one, in my opinion, since of the 3D Mega Man. The 2D
Yeah.
ones are still going pretty strong,
Yeah.
but
Are we limited to one game we'd like a sequel?
No,
to?
any
No, I
game
mean-
you'd like to see a sequel of.
Parasite Eve.
Okay.
And one that's not on a mobile.
mobile, yeah.
The-
Oh yeah, I forgot they did Third Birthday.
I'll give Third Birthday what it is, but it's not a true Parasite Eve. I mean, it has to be. I assume they're trying to get back to the roots, but it's not a survival horror because Parasite Eve was a survival horror.
Yeah, it had a weird combat system, like
Yeah.
because it kind of was a survival horror meets turn-based RPG meets real-time RPG. Because you
Yeah.
go into random battles, but then you could run around this little globe area in real-time combat, but you still have menus.
It was
Weird, but-
It was weird, but it was good. And also like a sequel to what was it? Medieval.
Oh yeah,
Okay, I can see that.
There was
Yeah.
a Medieval 2, but there has
One
not
that's
been another
HD,
one.
like
Yes.
a new one. It can be just as quirky and just as random as the original was. And I know I'm just going back to PS1 days, but I want another Soul Reaver, where we're I forgot which one it was when you were the spirit guy with
Legacy of Kain. That was Soul Reaver. 'Cause
Yeah,
the other
Soul-
one was
Legacy of
what
Kain
was
Soul Reaver. I want a Soul
the other
Reaver.
one. I think was just Legacy of Kain because you actually played as Kain.
Yeah. But Soul Reaver itself was a fantastic game. It had, you can siphon the souls out of things. You limited flying. You had really good combat system. That was great.
Yeah, the one where you play as Azrael.
Azrael, that was a fantastic game. And I'd love a sequel or anything, going back to that.
Speaking of Knights of the Old Republic 3, I mean that would really make a year of gaming for me if in like 2013 or 2014, like we're coming out with that.
Yeah, even
That's
the
fun.
announcement would make me
Yeah,
so
the
excited.
announcement, I would, piss and shit for about a week straight. I would just walk down the road, leaving a trail everywhere. It would be great.
Yep.
I mean, they could, as long as they kept everything pretty much the same, if they didn't try to turn it into
Dragon
like,
Age 2.
or give it the exact same fight mechanics of Sith Apprentice.
Yeah.
Or Unleashed, that's what it was.
Sort- yeah.
Unleashed.
Force Unleashed.
Yeah, which it was fun. I don't mix that storyline in with the
Right,
other
it's
storyline.
not
Yeah,
canon
it's
at
not
all.
canon whatsoever. But I would really like to see that, especially if they brought in some of the old characters from 1 and 2, who just kind of, even just little references here and
Yeah.
there, like.
Oddly enough, since BioWare has been kind of an ongoing topic right now, I would love to see Jade Empire 2.
Oh.
Because it did not get the recognition it deserved whenever it came out. It did have its flaws, like it was very short, especially for a RPG. But it was fun, and that's what should matter about a game.
Yes, I agree. Oh, it was so much fun putting out your own fighting styles and just all different random characters you met up with and could bring in.
I also might just be too nostalgic about BioWare though, because back whenever that game and the original KOTOR came out, they were really the company that could do no wrong.
Yeah.
Everything they put out was gold.
Yeah.
Now they put out, Dragon Age 2.
Yeah.
KOTOR is flopping currently.
The Old Republic.
I actually, not Knights though. Sorry.
Yeah, Tor.
SWOTOR, I think is what they're referring to it now. But I actually earlier today just saw they finally put same-sex relationships into into Old Republic Online.
Oh, did they?
And no, the best thing about it is they did it like weird because now there's just like a gay planet you can go to. So it's actually got like the gay community outraged because they were like, "You're segregating us in the game."
Well, all right, that fits the Star Wars universe in my opinion. You've got Kashyyyk, which is all forest. You've got Tatooine, which is all desert.
And now you have this one that's all rainbow.
That's a little insensitive, but I appreciate the effort.
We've all got plenty of gay friends.
No,
not
like,
really.
It's not as bad as they make it sound because it's just this is the first planet that you can go to that have gay love options. It's not everybody on this planet is gay.
Okay.
But it's weird because like it came with a press release that was like, we know we promised you same-sex relationships from day one. It's taking us a lot longer than we thought it would.
Because it's such a difficult.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, how is it hard? Every single one of your other games has had same-sex relationships from day one.
Yeah.
It's just you get your voice actors to put the dialogue options in, and then you program it the same way you've done every other love option.
No, they had to hit on guys for a while.
They had to do field research.
Yeah. So it took them a little while. They didn't really know how to do it. That's a cop out. That's
and I keep hearing too. I haven't confirmed it, so I might be talking out of my ass here. But I've heard that the main guys, like the starters of BioWare, are leaving or have already left. So that might be part of why they're having such a hard time.
Yeah, because that can destroy a lot of really good stuff.
Yes.
Staying on the Star Wars topic, but going back to the sequel. The sequel conversation. I'd like to really see Star Wars Battlefront 3.
Oh my god, that'd be awesome!
How
did I forget about that?
No kidding.
Star Wars Battlefront 3. Some of its information was leaked in another game that someone had dug into their files and brought out to the public. There is currently a team working on Star Wars Battlefront 3 as a fan project. And the game has touted, well, before it was canceled, that you could seamlessly switch from shooting on the ground at the Empire to jumping into a TIE fighter or an X-Wing and going up into space and fighting and doing orbital drop runs onto the battlefield. And that was
so you would actually have space battles going on at the same time as ground fighting.
Yes.
Wow.
And you get order in blast, order in drops. It was amazing.
Wow.
I don't know. See, to me, it sounds like it would just cause problems.
Much like Battlefield.
Well, it feels like you'd be like, "Oh, I'm about to die, but now I'm in a ship."
Well, I don't think he necessarily means that
You're
you
that
flat out,
character.
you press a button and you're up in it.
no.
That's what I thought at first too.
see.
But then he's speaking like the drop runs. I think it just means like if you manage to run out and you find a TIE fighter,
Then you can
you
go
hop in
with
it and you can fly all the way up into space.
Yeah, they kind of had that in 2 whenever you were fighting on one of the Star Destroyers and you could go out the gate into space. But
Most of the game hasn't been completely implemented, so a lot of the things that have been said about it haven't been really they haven't really indulged anybody on what those specifics are. So we don't know if it is instantaneous or if they can just fly straight up and just like pop into space. We don't really know.
Okay.
But it seems like an amazing game, and they really need to bring it out. But I doubt that it'll ever see the light of day.
Yeah.
It was in development hell even before the company went under. Another game I'd love to see a sequel to is Star Wars Republic Commando 2.
Oh my god, they left that game off on a serious cliffhanger, in my opinion.
and
they
that
never
game
played
was
it.
Fantastic.
Never played
original Xbox, I believe.
I think it was original.
that was the squad-based shooter, wasn't it?
Yeah, you
Republic,
played.
yeah.
I can't remember.
You were like a group of stormtroopers.
Yeah, I
basically.
can't remember.
Well, a group
the
of
squad
Republic
name.
troopers.
Right. But
It
still.
became
Stormtroopers at the end.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a sequel of you being stormtroopers, or possibly, struggling with a moral dilemma. But then again, stormtroopers can't shoot the side of a barn. So even then, a sequel, maybe your Republic troopers and the Old Republic, since that's a very hot button right now.
Old Republic is where Star Wars is.
So
at right
maybe
now.
like
although the announcement of Episode 7 might get us into more of the legacy era and the setting that I prefer as a geek.
There are always movie tie-ins, so I believe probably with this new legacy era there will be new video games. Maybe just be like Star Wars Episode 7.
Yeah.
Lego
Star Wars Episode 7.
Maybe a new Jedi Power Battles.
Oh.
Because that game was fun.
And another game that needs a sequel is Jedi Academy. Since we're on Star
They
Wars.
made a lot of those too, and they were all really
They
good.
need a
Yeah.
new one.
Yeah.
People are still playing the old one. Still very
I
populated servers.
Still play the old one every now and then.
Yeah.
I've
Even
got
Dark
one on
Forces
Steam.
has seen play within the last few years.
I'd like another Star Wars RTS. They've got like two that I know of. but-
They do?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they have a couple.
Republic at War maybe might be named
Mhm.
one of them. There's one more that's older than that where you can be like Gungan and it's a
Wow,
whole-
I've never heard of
Why
that.
does like
you
go
want to?
You would like to kill the Gungan,
Yeah.
for sure. That was a blast.
Yeah,
Like,
if they
I'm
put him
gonna
in
go
as
against
an
the
enemy
Gungan
only,
army.
I'd be all over that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Empire at War was tough if it's the one I'm thinking of.
And even one of the most fun parts about Star Wars Battlefront 2 was modding it.
Mm.
I remember I was big on the modding community for that game, as well as the original Knights of the Old Republic. I can make my own Jedi robes, own lightsabers, everything like that. And there's even sorry,
Kitties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kittens. They're being cute. Sections of the game where you can just put TIE fighters on Kashyyyk, and you can play as a full set of heroes against a full set of non-heroes in a regular match. It was just awesome, and a lot of people modded it to be like Star Wars Battlefront 3, but still 2.
I wanted to
So,
see. I would like to see Shadows of the Empire get a sequel.
Shadows of the
The
Empire.
Nintendo 64. I think it might have came out for a regular PlayStation 2, but I might be wrong about that. I remember it specifically in Nintendo 64. It was like kind of what happened between a couple of the movies. It starts off with the Battle of Hoth, and you can fly the speeder around the AT-ATs, and
I
it
remember
was like
Rogue
a
Squadron,
third-person
but
shooter.
not that one.
No, it was like a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
But then there were like times that you had lightsabers, and other times you were in ships. It was really good.
Yeah, I think they actually put that out for Steam too.
Did they?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty
I
sure I've got it. I have to check.
Need to start using Steam.
Yeah.
I do not trust downloadable games yet.
Yeah. Speaking about downloadable games, I'm okay with downloadable games. What scares me are cloud games.
Yeah. See, like, I lump the two together, and I think it's because I'm kind of tech ignorant whenever it comes to it. Just the idea that I paid for a game and I don't have a copy of it to prove that I own the game
Yeah.
bothers me, because computers crash, systems break, games get deleted.
Mm-hmm.
I want to always have proof and always have a way to be like, look, I own it, I can just play it.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. One of my biggest issues with it, because I've always held on to pretty much every game I've gotten. I mean, I still have 50-something 64 games, 50-something Nintendo games, Super Nintendo. And they are starting to go up in value, and I don't want to spend something that I'm never going to be able to get any money back on.
Yeah, this is also a thing about downloadable games, is like that they never increase in value, which, I mean, fine, that means I'll never have to pay more for them.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that downloadable games decline in value, as in like going to buy it new, dropping in price, much slower than their physical counterpart. Games that I can buy at GameStop, even new, for $5 are still downloadable for $30.
Yeah.
And I think they need to even that out if they ever want me to start buying downloadable games.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also the issue of, in past years, I was like you, I never got rid of games.
Yeah.
I am so broke now that the only way I can get new games most of the time is to trade in old games. If it's all downloadable, I cannot do that. So choosing games will become very difficult for me, because if I drop $60 on a brand new title and it sucks, I'm just out the $60. I can't get a refund, which is something they need to implement. Even if they do like the freaking mobile game idea of like, if you don't like it in 7 days, delete the download and email us and we'll give you your money back.
Yeah.
I know the problem with doing that is that there's so many tech-savvy people out there that they'll be like, well, I downloaded it, copied it, now I can play it for free and I got my money back.
Deleted it.
Yes.
It's wiped out.
Right, but I copied it onto this disk or this flash drive and
Yeah.
I can still play it.
That's true.
But yeah, that, like, the idea that once I bought a game, if I don't like it, I'm stuck with it. I can't even give it away. Bothers me.
Yeah, that's true. Because I'm in your shoes a little bit with all the Steam games I've got. Every time there's a really good deal, I'm like, oh, I wasn't ever going to play that game, but it's like $4. I'm going to get it. And there's so many games that I've tried out now. I can't believe I spent $10 on that. It was only $10, but
Yeah.
it was $10 that I cannot go and trade in towards anything. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's gonna sit there, blacked out on my Steam thing. 'Cause I'm not gonna reinstall it.
Right.
Pretty much forever. So I don't know.
You have anything to say on this topic, Matthew?
On the topic of downloadable games,
Yes.
recently they have been a large, I guess, income, I guess, revenue.
Source of revenue?
Your
I think
source
is what you're
of revenue or
going
source of
for.
income for dying companies such as THQ,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
which just went under. And before they went under, I'm not sure if this was a good guy THQ or not, but they did a humble bundle
Uh-huh.
that let us all have some of their main games for as little as $1.
Yeah, $1, and
Yeah.
if you paid like $6, you got like Saints Row the Third, and
Yeah,
bunch of
and
stuff.
I mean-
otherwise they wouldn't be available.
Yeah.
That idea, we're a dying company, here's all our games really cheap. Even if it is just a ploy to like, oh, we're going under, let's get as much money as we can. Still, I don't care if that's their reasoning. You gave me the game cheap.
Yeah, it still
It works
makes
for
$5
me.
million.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
And downloadable games, they're saying that's the future. I really don't want that future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like physical copies, and one reason, I don't mean to switch topics, but I'm going to divulge just briefly and then come back.
Okay.
I love, pardon my French, but getting a game, coming home, taking the booklet, and going to the bathroom and reading it. That's one of my favorite things to do
Huh.
ever since growing up, is take the booklet from a game.
Interesting.
It smells fresh. You read through it.
Is that the only thing that smells fresh in the bathroom? Is that why?
Well, it's kind of like a air freshener, but
No, I know that smell you're talking about, though.
but I missed that. I recently got Resident Evil 6, opened it up. There was a leaflet.
Yeah, see, there are a lot of games now that don't even come with a
No, they did not come with a manual at all, and I felt cheated. I'd love to sit there and read the small synopsis of the storyline. I'd love to read the controls, who the characters are. Resident Evil 7 had a really fat, or Final Fantasy 7, sorry, had a very fat manual that had the character bios and everything. It was amazing.
Or if you remember, Final Fantasy VIII came with like the manual and then like a mini walkthrough of the first where you go to get Ifrit.
Oh, I forgot all about that. Yeah, you're right. Because they even had like little black and white little screenshots of
Yeah.
that little area.
And
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 11 also had a mini walkthrough that came with it, which
Yeah.
was really good. Donnie has something to say?
Just talking about downloadable games. Like I said, I'm okay with it for a lot of things. PC, for example, I've always had the issue. I mean, I bought Diablo 2 probably 6 times in my lifetime
Yeah.
because I always lose the key code and need to re-download. I lose my disc. I lose
Yeah.
everything. So I need to rebuy it. But for PC, I love just downloading it. You know,
Whoops.
so with PC games, they can mix in my CDs.
Broke
They
my
can mix
pin.
in with everything. Consoles, though, I still want hard copies of my games.
Yes.
And that, I think with that, they're planning to move to cloud storage games.
Ugh.
I hate that.
Yeah.
The cloud, that's cool for a lot of things, like my music.
Yeah.
I can still download to my computer. I'm okay. Video games, I want to be able to play them if I have no internet.
Yeah.
If my internet goes out for a while, I can't afford the bill for a short period of time. I
And
still need to play my games.
Touching back, another problem that Diablo 3 had, but go on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would like to be able to play something that isn't just on the cloud.
Yeah.
You know, the console games are the ones that go up in value. PC games, I'm sure there are some out there that go up in value, but not too many.
No.
On the same topic as not being able to play your games on offline is online only DRM that EA has been just shoving down everybody's throats.
Mm-hmm.
Ubisoft has done the same thing with most Assassin's Creed games. A lot of them, you have to register for the game online before you even play it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have internet, you can't register online and play the game. You either have to get internet somewhere or not play it.
Yeah, in some of these cases, like EA especially, sometimes it doesn't bother me because what they do is like, oh, you bought this, like say Mass Effect 3 you bought, and if you bought it used and you want to play online multiplayer, then you have to pay for the online fee and all that stuff and get your code and everything. Well, to me, Mass Effect has always been a single player game. There was no reason to put multiplayer in it. So I don't need that. So it doesn't bother me. I just don't pay for that, and I still play my game. But yeah, the ones that are like you can't play the game at all unless you get on the internet and put in this code and pay a little bit or whatever. That's
Yeah.
stupid. Another problem I have with downloadable games is they cost the same amount for the most part as
Yeah,
the
you're right.
hard copy. And the biggest issue I have with this is I know that they don't cost the same amount to make. Especially they don't have to pay for, I don't know, the plastic that goes into the cases, the paper that goes into the covers, the discs, the process of burning the discs, the
booklets.
shipping,
It's
the
pure-
shipping to get it into stores, the price that they have to pay to GameStop to, have shelf space
Yeah.
for their game. We should not be paying the same amount. So if they want me to buy a downloadable game over the hard copy, they should make it less money to buy
Yes.
the downloadable
Yeah.
game.
It's absolutely pure profit.
Yeah.
Although
They think
They do
gamers
have-
are dumb and don't realize that they're not paying the same amount to make a download that they are to make the full
they do
copy.
have to pay for the bandwidth and the servers to upload these games for as long as indefinitely.
Not always, because take Xbox Live. If I go on there and I download Resident Evil 4 on Xbox Live, it's on my hard drive now. They don't need the server anymore. It's the whole game is on my hard drive.
I think he means to host it for other people to download it.
Yes.
To
basically.
host it, yeah.
And
But
that would be maybe somehow downloads will become increase in price because they maybe start taking downloads down and then they become rare to find. But I mean, it's on the internet and people, I don't care who you are, what company you're in, people will always find a way to pirate
Oh yeah, absolutely.
your downloads.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so,
And pirating is a whole
Yeah.
nother topic.
and if your
Right.
game starts selling for, $600 to find the digital download of it, someone's going to torrent it.
Oh god,
I'm
big
sorry,
time.
and I'm sorry, game companies, but whenever that happens, it's your fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once something's on the internet, it will always be on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are some games I still can't find on the internet. Grim Fandango, for example. I believe there's a LucasArts point-and-click game where you live in
the
like
PC,
a Day in the
yeah.
Dead style world. Game was awesome. I loved that game as a kid. Can't find it anywhere.
This
Yeah.
kind of ties in with another, if everybody's done with this topic.
Yeah.
If not, I'll...
Yeah, I'm okay moving on.
Alright, well, while we're talking about pricing and stuff like that for games, do you guys think should length of a game factor in? Because a big thing that's going on right now is, people, you'll see it on the internet a lot, especially if you watch a internet review, and then under it you'll look at the comments. A lot of people will say yeah, but how long is it? If it's not 30 hours, I don't buy it.
Yeah.
Do you think that the length of a game should factor into its price?
I think it should. I don't think it ever will. I mean, things that should be and things that happen hardly ever meet. It would definitely be great if I mean, it does with indie games because they're typically short
Yeah.
games that are cheap.
But a lot of
But-
times the price of indie games is also because it didn't cost them nearly as much
Yeah,
to
it
make
didn't
it.
cost so much to make it, and they're still trying to get their name out
Right.
there. They don't have the big old name saying, "Hey, buy me."
Yeah.
I definitely think it should, because if I'm getting some game that I'm going to play for 10 hours, I want to pay $60.
Yeah.
Because that's not a good deal to me. I mean, I can play online games that are on Congregate or stuff like that, spend $20 on premium items and get a month gameplay out of
Right.
that. I don't mind paying $60 for Skyrim,
Right.
infinite gameplay.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, the length of a game should kind of factor in. If I could rent the game for $5 and be done with it completely in a week and never want to go back to it, you can bet I'm not going to pay $60 for that game.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a badass 5-hour game and there's a lot of replay value to
Yeah.
it, I want to play it again and again. Sure, I'll go pay the $60 for it. Just like if they put out a game, best example I can think of right now is Two Worlds. 40-plus hour game. It was horrible. It didn't matter how long it was. I would not pay $60 for that game.
Two Worlds 2 or Two Worlds 1?
One.
Okay.
I haven't played Two Worlds 2 because one was so bad.
1 was amazing. 2 was amazing. 1 was horrible.
But it should factor in somewhat. But I think this is it. I agree with Donnie because it would be impossible for them to implement it because game publishers would have to be honest about
Yeah.
how good their game is.
Yeah.
And that's never going to happen. You will
No.
always have people like Peter Molyneux who promise the world every
best
single
game
time that he puts out a
ever.
game. It's you can do everything. There's nothing that is slowing you down. There's no hiccups or glitches in this game at all. And then you get it, and it's the glitchiest, crappiest piece of shit that you can't do anything in. Most linear, like, it's like, yeah, there's a good and evil storyline, but it's the same storyline.
Oh, yeah.
That reminds me of
That remembers him.
that reminds me of a game that came out around the same time after Doom as Daikatana. The creator of it.
It's not sounding familiar to me at all.
Yeah, me neither.
There's a reason for that. The creator touted this game in magazine articles, full-page magazine articles that called you a pussy or called you a bitch, I think,
Yeah.
saying that you can't handle this game. This game is too awesome for you. And I may be misquoting it, but that's pretty much what he did. He insulted gamers saying you can't handle this game. You know, this game is too awesome. It came out and it was the worst piece of trash ever. Like it was like Doom but less so, and it was just an awful game. And there's no way to really describe how awful it was, except the fact that you guys didn't even know what the hell it was.
Yeah, I've never heard of this.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, and I actually researched this game, and the creator, he went underground. Like, afterwards, everyone hated him.
Yeah.
And he thought he was just a hard ass. Like, he made the bet. He thought he was a genius, and it was an awful
I
game.
mean, it is a good marketing ploy, I'll give it that, because
Yeah, it's
my machismo kicks in, and I don't have a lot of machismo, but it definitely kicks in whenever someone's like, you can't handle this game. I'm like, challenge accepted,
yeah,
bitch.
exactly.
Like Demon Souls,
Yes,
Dark Souls.
Demon's Souls and
Oh,
Dark
that's
Souls.
fun.
Everybody's like, it's the hardest
No,
game ever.
no,
I'm like,
those
I'm gonna
delivered.
play it.
Yeah.
I say those delivered.
That's true. Those games
absolutely.
lived up to how difficult they
Yeah,
were.
it's purely skill based.
Yeah.
If you try to hack and slash in that game, you will get murdered time and time and time again.
There's a problem with other slash games like that, because it is a hack and slash at its heart. You
Yeah.
run through and hack and slash enemies.
Yeah.
But with other ones, like, I can go through an entire Devil May Cry game and never block.
Yeah. Okay, while we're on Devil May
Forgot there was a
Cry,
block of Devil May Cry.
Bayonetta.
Yeah.
You guys ever play that?
I played a little bit of
Yeah,
it.
it's
But it was a little too cheesy for me, which is hard to do.
No, the game, it's basically try to see how cool you can make your moves.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all it was.
Also,
see how naked you can get
yeah.
this woman with her own
Which
hair.
attacks can you do that will make it to where you can almost see a little bit of nipple?
Yeah, and then tease you throughout the entire game that you can be. And then she sucks on a lollipop, so it's a lot of...
Did
lot
you
of mail.
take that booklet into the bathroom after you got
They didn't have a booklet. I had my laptop in there. See, I had to get a power cord for my laptop. I had to bring it in there. There was in the game, so I wouldn't have to bring all that shit in there. Somebody had to hook their desktop and drag a monitor in there. Just turn around and set it on top of the tank. So the keyboard on your lap, you know.
I have the worst mental image.
Yeah, me too. It's not a good one.
Yeah.
But that goes to show that you need to put manuals in games.
Now, Matt, I remember earlier today when we were just kind of talking about stuff, you mentioned the idea of changing the prices for different elements of the game. Like, you could just buy the multiplayer, like, let's say, Call of Duty for, such and such an amount, and maybe the storyline for such an amount. Now, what were you meaning with that?
I was... we all know the Call of Duty franchise is monstrous.
Oh, yeah.
Although,
Some would say more monstrous than it deserves.
Yeah. But let's not anger too many of our fans here.
I want them angry.
But now, if
Come
it
find
were
me on Mag, bitches.
Oh,
Anyway, go on.
I missed that game.
I still play it. But go on.
Back to on topic. If you were to just say Call of Duty was only single player, Mark, what would you pay for it? Have you ever played the single player campaign?
See, that's like Donnie. I am an alpha gamer. I prefer single player games.
Was it good enough to warrant its price tag?
No, I never finished the campaign. I started playing it and got a little bit of the ways in. This is World at War, just normal Call of Duty 4 whenever it was. I think it was basically like a launch title for 360, and Modern Warfare. Just they didn't keep my interest. Black Ops kind of did, but then it got like a little too convoluted and stupid. I was just like, I don't really care. Yeah, oh, I'm getting tortured. I'm gonna have flashbacks while I'm unconscious. I'm every B movie about war ever. Like, I don't care. So I wouldn't. If Call of Duty was single player only, I would not buy it.
And there were hundreds of missions where you're in an airport
Yes.
or someplace
Yes,
mowing down people.
mowing down
for fun.
civilians.
Yeah.
Well, that was
Now-
an interesting level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
it was.
that's about where I quit playing. I
it?
finished that and was like, well, nothing else in this game is going to top that.
It's sick and twisted,
Yeah.
but that was
But
really fun.
I'm also one of the strongest advocates for like games like Skyrim should allow me to kill a kid if he's following me around like, I'm not as scared of you.
Yeah, which is why PC is nice.
If they claim to let you be evil, they should
Yeah.
let you be evil.
Oh yeah,
But,
definitely.
you know, that brings up way
At
too
least
much
they finally
controversy.
had kids in it.
Yeah, that's
Well,
true.
that and the
Step up.
airport mission, they never told you to shoot anybody. They
Right.
said open fire.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of good
Yeah.
about it. You choose what to do.
But
Yeah.
back to your question, no, I would not pay any money for a single player Call of Duty game. I would, however, pay probably a good $60 for a single player Halo game, on the exception that they would have to go back to the length of the original Halo and Halo 2's campaign, where it isn't a 2 to 3 hour experience. It's a game on its own.
Yeah, I never even played those online. LAN parties, sure.
Yeah.
And even then, those were a lot of fun, but the solo storyline, couch co-op storylines,
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Back to my question, Donnie, what would you play if Call of Duty was purely single player?
If it was purely single player,
Just the campaign.
upwards, top dollar. If as short as they are, probably like $10. But if they put a little more meat into it, probably $20.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
No. To the second part of the question, I'm sure. Have you played any multiplayer for Call of Duty, Mark? What would you pay for that if you did?
This is like directed at me. This is an awful question, mainly because, to be completely honest, I just hate Call of Duty, and it's not really that the gameplay is bad. It's that I hate the people playing Call of Duty. I hate the people that think because they never go outside and all they do is sit on Call of Duty and accrue the best guns and stuff like that, that they would actually be good in a real war kind of people.
Oh, okay.
It annoys me. Also, the people who I always end up in a fight with people that are like, "Oh, Call of Duty is so much better than Halo," and I'm like, you're comparing apples and oranges. One of them is a wartime realistic shooter. The other one, you're in space fighting aliens with plasma weapons, and you can jump 3 times the height because of the gravity. They're not. The only thing they have in common is that they're shooters. You can't compare them as if they were the exact same kind of game.
Tactics are completely
Now,
different. Everything.
like you can compare Call of Duty and Battlefield. That makes sense. You can compare Halo and Doom, in my opinion, single player, because
Yeah,
Doom doesn't have multiplayer. Well, Doom 3, because there are some Doom multiplayers out there. But like you can compare those because it's the same setting and same idea. They're either wartime shooters or they're space shooters. One of them is based in reality. One of them is based in fiction. It's like saying that what's a good example here? Saying that like Richard Dawkins' books are horrible fiction novels. You can't say that. They're not fiction books.
Yeah.
So it's kind of in that realm.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for the people playing, I would enjoy their multiplayer. If there's a lot of ifs in this game. If they were better about on the couch multiplayer, because right now it's like 2 maximum. And even for some reason, whenever you have the 2 maximum, it's still split into like the 4 screen thing.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Why, if you're gonna make it to where I have a limit of 2 people playing multiplayer in a shooter, give me half the screen.
Yeah.
And let me choose between horizontal and vertical cut because I hate vertical cut. But you should. I have a 47-inch TV. I don't want to use 7 only inches of it. It's stupid.
Yeah.
But, and on the couch multiplayer is what I like. I like being in the room with my friends, not with strangers on the internet who I don't give a shit about.
Yep.
But going back to your question, if it had all that, so basically if it wasn't a Call of Duty game, if it was just a multiplayer shooter that I could play on the couch with my friends and if it even had online options, like, because I will, get into a group with my friend Daniel, who's in the Marine Corps, so he's in different states all the time. That I could see paying $40 to $60 for, depending on how many maps you have and quality of game. Call of Duty's multiplayer as it is now, if it were just that packaged on its own, I'd maybe pay $20.
Yeah,
top shelf.
20,
for the
30.
newest, if it just came out.
Yeah, if it was just purely the multiplayer, which is most of what people play on it anyway. I'd probably $30.
For what it is as it stands.
This is really saying if I was really into first person shooter MMO style, play with it. Well, not really
Not
MMO,
but multiplayer online.
multiplayer online. If I was really into that kind of stuff, I'd probably pay $30 for just multiplayer.
On the Converse, have you all played Phantasy Star?
Oh yeah,
Phantasy Star iterations.
I played the 2 and 3 for regular Sega.
Yeah,
and
that's where I'm at,
I
too.
played, I think it was Universe a little bit, but I could never get the online to function properly.
Yes. What would you pay for something like Final Fantasy that was correctly done online, whereas Final Fantasy just as a single player RPG game? Now, single player RPG games for Final Fantasy have been known to sell at $60 because they are so amazing. But
I think 13 was $70 when it first came out.
Shit.
Maybe I wouldn't be surprised.
But the fact that set games can be either good or bad based on the multiplayer variants just does not work for me. What would you guys say on that subject?
I think... hang on, elaborate a little bit. It can't be good or bad based on the variant. What do you mean?
Well, based on how good Call of Duty is multiplayer does not factor in how good the game will be single player and how much I will pay for having the ability to play super multiplayer or single player.
Okay, to me, and you'll hear this argument from a lot of people, but to me it is valid. If it's a game like Call of Duty where the main focus is multiplayer, I mean, you'll talk to 90% of people who play it. I'm pulling that percentage out of my ass, by the way, but it's something like 90% of the people who play it have never even touched the single player. They never even gave it a second thought.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, could the money that they spent making a single player game to add on to their multiplayer game been better used to just make the multiplayer better? And same vice versa, like Mass Effect 3 should have only been a single player game. I kind of enjoyed the multiplayer, but I don't go back to it. Could the money that they spent to add in a multiplayer function had been better spent to further the single player? On top of that, Mass Effect kind of did it wrong, wherein if you're going to tack on a multiplayer thing and you're not going to make it as full of a multiplayer experience as, say, Call of Duty, where there's all these different game modes, because basically in Mass Effect all it is it's basically firefight from Halo, or I forgot what they call it, Horde mode, I think, in Gears of War, where it's you and 3 people against a horde of enemies. That's the only option. There's no deathmatch, there's no team deathmatch, there's no versus multiplayer at all. It's all co-op and it's all squad based. If they're going to do that, and then they make it to where how good you're doing in the multiplayer factors into things that happen in the game, like in Mass Effect 3, for example, if you don't play the multiplayer at all, and you skip some of the optional missions in the single player, there is no way, regardless of what you do after that, to stop the Earth from being destroyed at the end.
Really?
Yeah. Now, this is, again, going back to people bitching about it because they were like, oh, it only has 3 different endings. It's like, no, actually, it has 3 different main endings, but then there's a lot of little shit that changes too, like the world getting destroyed or it not. I'm sorry, that's a difference. That is a different ending. You just have to, think about it for a second. But that, as much as I love the game, they should not have made multiplayer have any bearing on what happens in single player.
I think
I mean, like I said, my Xbox was crapped out.
Yeah.
But I got the bar, the
Yes.
Galactic Readiness bar, all the way filled up. It took me forever.
Yeah.
Because I never played it on multiplayer, because I didn't pay for Xbox
Right.
Live. But I think you could get to the point. It just
it gets all the way filled up.
Yeah.
And then there's like a little, I think it's like a little red line that goes through it, and it's like, this is how much galactic readiness you have. This is your effective galactic readiness because of
Yeah.
multiplayer.
Yeah.
If you don't get that effective all the way up to,
Oh, yeah.
you can't get like certain ending things. Like I never got it all the way up because I didn't play multiplayer enough. I did get it up far enough to where the Earth didn't get destroyed.
Yeah.
And I was still able to get like the third perfect ending. It's like the green ending at the end,
Uh-huh.
which that one's only factored based on like if you did every single optional mission.
Yeah, which I did
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. But they did still have it to where like if I go back and try to play now, I'm gonna miss certain parts of the game because there's just not anybody playing multiplayer anymore, and you
yeah.
can't really do it one person because
Yeah.
it's made for a team of 4.
That's what
So
I'm saying.
that shouldn't have factored in. And to me, again, this game should not have had multiplayer. If they wanted to do a multiplayer Mass Effect, they should have made a separate multiplayer Mass Effect game. I would have been totally fine with that, and I probably would have bought it and played the hell out of it. But just tacking on one aspect of a normal multiplayer game, like it's like if they made Halo and they were like, the only multiplayer you get is team deathmatch, nothing else, no single deathmatch, no King of the Hill, no oddball,
Yeah.
none of the things you've
What-
come to expect from Halo.
And what if, say, another way to average fans is make Slayer, or to make, let's say, Zombies,
Yeah.
or Capture the Flag, or that one Skull game.
Oddball.
Made that all on disc DLC.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's
Something I didn't think to bring up, but it is a good topic. On day one, on disc DLC should not exist. Well, that you have to pay for
Yeah.
should not exist.
I'll admit it is
Yeah.
a clever marketing ploy, but it's
Now-
destroying shit.
Now, some things that I'm okay with them going like, hey, here's some DLC day one that you get for free if you bought the special edition. I'm actually okay with that. But if you're like, there's no special edition of the game, but there is day one DLC, fuck you.
Yeah, it's like you have this ready to put out the day that it comes
Yeah.
out, and it's already, like you said, on disc.
Yeah.
It's already on the disc, like with Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Whenever it very first came out, there were a couple of characters whose sprites were already on there.
Yeah.
People were going in, changing stuff around so they could play those characters. They
Yeah.
had the movesets, they had everything. Now, PlayStation Network went down before the actual DLC was available.
Yeah.
But, still, I mean, they shouldn't put that kind of stuff
Right.
out there on the disc. It's data you technically paid for.
Yeah.
Because it's on the disc.
There's other other things too. Is like some DLC, even if it is day one, I don't mind paying for. I don't mind paying $5 for another 15-hour storyline in my RPG.
Yeah.
But then you have things like Gears of War that came out and they're like, hey, here's $15 to get a bunch of different color skins for your guns in a game where anything that isn't dirt colored gets shot at immediately. So
I'd like to touch back on games where multiplayer and single player variants are sold separately. Now, if games were to do this, it'd be nice for that to happen, but like Donnie said, I doubt it ever will.
Yeah.
But I'm all for it, mainly because a game that would normally be 50 or 60 would be, total maybe 40
yeah.
or even 30, depending on how good the multiplayer single player was.